Recording in progress.
Very good morning, very good evening to you all. Jai Shri Krishna Guruji. Welcome to the Shri Eknathi Bhagavad Satsang. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we are doing Shri Eknathi Bhagavad, chapter 2. We have to continue from verse 28 onwards. The king Videha said, I think you are actually the attendants of Vishnu, the enemy of demon Madhu, who are traveling on this earth for emancipation of people. Janaka was having consciousness beyond his physical body also, though he was an emperor of sovereign power and functioned in his body. He requested those sons of Rishabh with great respect and love. Janaka was extremely joyous. His joy was independent of his body. In the state of that happiness and contentment, he requested them with love. He said, if I see your power, you appear to be Almighty God Himself. And if I see your body, you are surely great devotees of God. Really, you are equal to the attendants of Sri Hari. In the Upanishads, it is said that God is His own devotee. That statement is practically proved to be true in your person. Another statement in the Upanishads is, by becoming Shiva, you should worship Shiva. That is also evidently true in you. Others may talk about these things, but merely talking is meaningless. This is very beautiful. What is Janaka? Janaka is now praising all the sages who have come. So first is that we learnt about how you have to honor them, how you need to receive them. Now he is also offering his praises to them. You are with all kindness traveling on the earth only to emancipate the people in bondage and to make sacred all that is created by Sri Vishnu in this world. You're roaming all over the world, but only by good fortune, somebody may be able to meet you. I must be very fortunate since I am given the opportunity to do some service by you. So this is very beautiful. The only reason why the saints, the devotees of the Lord, who are none other than the sages, the saints, and the Guru themselves, they give us an opportunity to, for what? To get emancipated. And how does that work? By Guru Bhakti and Seva. It is only through the path of devotion that you can attain, redemption and overcome all the sins that you have gathered over all your previous births of yours. To some level, that sins can be destroyed. Now, this emancipation is only possible when the grace of the Guru or the sages and the saints themselves bestow upon you, not otherwise. You on your own can't achieve anything without their grace. So this is a very important statement that King Janaka is making. You have bestowed your grace is what is he saying. So this is something very important for us to understand. Now, also what is he saying? He's saying, I must be very fortunate. You must have earned some good merit. Otherwise, this opportunity is not going to come to you. It is with rare, it is in the rarest of the rare scenario or the case when you get such an opportunity to serve the Guru comes, to serve the sages and the saints. It is with great fortune. No, you must be fortunate. Only then will you get this grace, not otherwise. So we have to, what the most important thing at that moment in time to do is to give up this ego, to give up all that we think we know, and to surrender to the Guru, the lotus feet of this great masters, and learn and evolve. Most important, Guru Bhakti and Guru Seva form the very foundation of your spiritual growth. Even for the knowledge that you are learning, for it to imbibe, even for the devotion to come, it is not such an easy thing. And this is very important. And as we progress along in this, in Sri Eknathi Bhagavad, you will learn what Eknath Maharaj is going to teach you about how to be devoted to Lord Sri Krishna, how with great fortune that we get this privilege, some great merit, good merit that you have earned, because of which you have the the great fortune of meeting the master in this life of yours. So that's a very important thing that we are going to learn. So I'm not going to emphasize now. So let us continue. Blessed is my luck and blessed is my glory. I am feeling very much honored that I have seen your incomparable sacred feet. What did I say? Yesterday also I was telling you this. The lotus feet of these great masters is, revered by those who understand the profound significance of it. We don't understand how great that feet is, because just the touch of that feet in every part of the, wherever they walk, they sit, they stand, you don't know what all kind of things that happen. Actually, it is very beautifully described in one of the chapters in the same scripture, which we are going to learn. Okay, so let us continue. Verse 29, chapter 2, verse 29. I know that all of the bodies, the human body, is very rare to be born in, but it is ephemeral. But rare in it is to have a glimpse of those who are loved by Vishnu. What does that mean? The King Janaka said, Sirs, the human body is very rare in all the creatures. It is very difficult to be born as a human being. When the merit and sin are in perfect balance, then only human body in this world, where karma is very important, is possible to get. If there is more or less in the merit or sin, the person either goes to heaven or falls in the hell. How beautiful it is. So what is he saying? First of all, it is the rarest of the thing to get the human birth. That's the first criteria, right? If you don't have a human body, how can you go towards God realization? Because none other, if you're born in any other body besides human birth, you can't get the fortune of, first of all, going towards God. That is number one. And on top of it, to meet the guru means it's like a creme de la creme. It's like you've got some, it's like we say, some luck, something happened, something struck, we won a lottery. That's the kind of a thing it is. So it's such a great thing. But what happens? We do not revere ourselves. We do not value this privilege that we have. It's a very sad state. You know why? When we have this great master, we don't seem to be understanding the privilege and the mercy that Lord has bestowed upon us. We don't understand what we have got. Our day and night, the one goal that should be in us, when we have this great guru, is to redeem ourselves. Instead of that, we are so lost in our material worldly affairs. Even after getting the privilege, what is the use if you do not put in efforts to evolve? See, because the guru can only teach you. The guru can give you knowledge, but it is for you to put effort towards evolving in the path. And if you don't do, what is the point? That is the most important thing you need to understand, because this human birth comes with lot of merit. What does he say? This even when we did Shripad Sri Vallabh, Dattatreya is very beautifully explained. When your merit and your, what does he saying? He's saying your merit and sin have to be in the perfect balance. Then only you get an opportunity to have a human birth. And above all, what is the cream on top of it? The icing on the cake is what? Meeting a guru, the privilege of having a guru. It comes with great fortune. And this privilege, you don't know how priceless it is. We don't seem to revere this in our life. So please revere. When you have this kind of a master, the one thing you should care about is you have to value this priceless thing that you have in your life. Everybody doesn't get. Imagine we are in around 8.4 billion population, and in that you have this real master. How great a privilege that is. So value that. And then, so what is he saying here? When karma, both good and bad, becomes equal, there is human birth. But having born as a human being, all are not having equal intelligence. Please listen how imbalance happens to enter in the state of equilibrium. Suppose a big stone representing sin is put in one pan of the balance, and in the other pan we put some fragments of merit equal in weight with that stone. Then that man definitely turns towards bad deeds in this life. For example, some sand and some gold, when put in the balance, may be of equal weight. But people spend money to purchase gold and do not take sand at all. Similarly, a man has great merit and many small minor sins equal in weight are put in the balance. When they are born with such stock, their tendency in this birth is towards doing good deeds. And then both the sins and merits are totally wiped out. Then only there is liberation, not otherwise. And this is one thing which nobody understands. Besides, he also said something very important. You know what he said? If there is more or less in the merit or sin, the person either goes to the hell or falls in the hell, goes to the heaven or falls in the hell. Means what? Even if your merit, if you have more merit and less demerit, or if you have more demerit or less merit. So what happens is either you go to heaven, or sorry, either you go to heaven or you go to hell. Now this thing happens. The human birth comes only when both of these things balance out. When there is equal balance of your merit and the sin, not otherwise. So imagine in how many million lives of yours will this one balance come about? We don't even know that. So man should value his birth, this human body. It is very, very important. So at such a critical time, a jiva is born as human being. But there also a very hard knot of pride is formed of attachment to, most important, money, number one. Number two is woman and other pleasures of senses. So what happens? Even if you are born as a human body, what is the first thing you are attached with? Kamini Kanchan, lust and greed, women and gold. So you're running after lust and greed continuously and other things, not just lust and greed. The 6 enemies of humankind, what are they? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsaryam. Now all these things are part of the parcel deal. You are always going to be attached. And then what happened? Other sense pleasures. You are going to continuously keep running after that. Just as it is foolish to give nectar to somebody and take mirage in exchange to quench one's thirst, similarly, when they have such a great gain in having a human body, they abuse it in order to chase sense objects, objects of senses. How beautiful Janaka is saying. What is he saying? You know, you people are such a foolish one, even after having such a beautiful advantage, such a privilege of having a human body, all that you are doing is what? They abuse it in order to chase objects of senses. You are abusing this human birth. You are running after everything in the material world, which is not permanent. And this morning also, my Krishna Guruji was teaching a very powerful lesson in Tripura Rahasyam. What did he teach? He was saying, we go after everything that is impermanent in life. Husband, wife, children, family, mother, father, brother, sister, you name it. My job, my boss, my money, my house, my car, my possessions. It is endless. So where is the question of you going even towards God realization? Forget, God himself doesn't exist in your life. This is exactly what happens. We are so lost in the material world, the material worldly existence, that we forgot what is the real purpose of this human birth itself. Then, or in exchange of illusory forms of clouds resembling cities of angels, one may give up the gem called Chintamani. Similarly, they spoil their life only for getting some false comforts for their senses. So what is he saying? You are just trading everything that you have for some false comforts, for the pleasures of the sense objects. How petty is that? It is as bad as cutting down all the wish trees in the garden and throwing their branches and leaves as wasted foliage and sowing poppy seeds in the same land. That is how people throw away the most valuable human body. All their activities are centered around food and sex, or playing pranks, ridiculing good people, and gossip or sleep. That's very powerful, no? What is Eknath Maharaj saying? What are you actually doing? Number one is food. Have you seen everybody? Oh, I want to eat this, I want to eat that, titillating their palate. You know, the most important thing when you come to the Guru, you know, what does he do? The first thing is he destroys this senses of taste. Oh, I like this, I don't like this. The Guru gives you food Anything that comes in your plate, you have to eat it as prasad, maha prasad. You know why? Because it is blessed by your master. His guru is God Almighty. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma. So anything that the guru offers to you is Mahaprasad and we eat. So what happens as you eat, he destroys this, your thing about I like this, I don't like this, I am used to eating like this only, I am used to eating like that only. All that is destroyed. Whatever your Gurudev gives to you, offers to you, it is coming from the God Almighty. It is a blessed food, and when you eat it, he first destroys all that likes and dislikes. And number two, when you eat that food, that becomes itself an blessing. It works magical within your being. So it removes a lot of things that you have. It could be pertaining to some kind of afflictions also, and it could be pertaining to some kind of, oh my, I'm used to, you're attached to certain food or not, and some kind of ailments in your body. It destroys all that just by eating the food he is giving you. Whatever comes in your plate, you need to eat it as Mahaprasad. That's number one. Then what is he saying? Next is sex. I don't even want to talk about this subject. Or playing pranks. So don't play pranks. We are all very foolish in life. Then ridiculing good people. We have this dirty habit of talking about, other people. Especially, there's a word here, ridiculing good people. You can't do that. Ridiculing means what? You're trying to, tell, what kind of a nonsense these people are doing. They think no end of themselves. People can say, oh, Rajma thinks she's some great goddess. She thinks she's living with the guru, means she talks nonsense. She's talking all sorts of nonsensical things. Ridiculing. Rajma is not talking Rajma. Rajma's, the words are of her guru's wisdom. Krishna Bhagavan is talking through her. I don't talk. So what is it being said? So ridiculing good people or anybody for that matter. They call, some people say, oh, look at him. Some masters, the way they dress or behave will be in a weird manner. So people ridicule. Look at him, how he's dressed. He's looking like a beggar. People call these kind of names. We are not supposed to do. And especially the devotees of the Lord, we are not supposed to speak like that. Anything is possible. So man does this. Then gossip, or most important, sleep. Tamas, filled with inertia. So what happens? What is that human being doing? They are so lost in all these things. The people throw away the most valuable human body in all these kind of activities. Tell me, is it your life worth living like this? What does it signify? You're living a life like a pig. That is exactly how you live. Then daily, they waste their time on family feuds, struggle to get pleasures of senses, and if some time is spare, they play at dice. This is very, very powerful. What is he saying? Daily, every single day, they waste their time on family feuds. Means what? In the family, my mom said this, my brother said this, my sister said this, my aunt said this, my uncle said this. Oh, look how that person is talking behind me. We get lost in this petty family feuds, which is not going to take you anywhere. On the contrary, what you're getting into? Adding more karma. You're creating more karmic activities with that individual. You know what? You're going to definitely be born again and again with the same person. You're entangled with so many different people in your life. So then struggle to get pleasures of senses. And what is that one thing you're struggling? I want to feel happy. Happiness is what? It's connected to the it's a state of mind, and it is a very temporary thing. Happiness means it is a short term. What do you find happiness? Oh, today my husband spoke to me very nicely, so I'm feeling very happy. That's a short term status. Can your husband ever speak to you nicely? And why are you even expecting that he has to speak nicely? An example, okay, doesn't mean anything. Or the same thing, my wife was very nice. Today she cooked food for me. She made all my favorite dishes. So it's a state of mind, right? I'm feeling very happy. Both is unreal. It's only temporary. Or, oh, I got an increment in my office. I got $1 million. I did a sales. I achieved my sales target and I was awarded $1 million I got. Again, short-lived. It's a monetary gain. It's very transient. That money will have its own wings and it will fly away. You don't even know where that 1 million disappeared also. That is the truth. And next, what? Happiness. I got a house. I'm happy. Oh, and we'll call everybody. Not only you, your parents will call everybody. Everybody will call everybody. Oh, my daughter has got a house. My son has got a house. Not one house, two house, three house also. That is happiness. Again, short term. Then what else we are looking at? Everything is short term. It's just a transient thing. Because happiness is not eternal. It's not a blissful state. It is a momentary thing which is connected to three important things in life: people, places, and things. Your happiness is always centered around these things. And where does happiness come in? It's in your mind. You find happiness in the mind. But what is that creating? It's a reaction, no? Everything that you see, touch, feel, eat, it's all, everything connected to sense pleasures. Then what is he saying? And if some time is spared, they play at dice. Why is he saying some time is spared, they play dice? In olden times, I've seen my great-grandparents. They're very good, devoted, everything. After lunch, there was a ritual with my great-grandfather and grandmother. They would sit and play this dice. And I always wonder, and once when we had gone on a summer vacation, the whole family was there. And we were about like 2 teams. So we all joined my great-grandmother, one team, and my great-grandfather, another team. And we all were playing. And in that, as we played, we were like, I think about 20 members, 10 each or something like that. And when this play was going on, it got so intense. I saw one of, I don't want to name, but it was few people on my team side, the team that I was on, they literally threw that whole thing up in rage. Because according to them, cheating happened and it became a big fight after that. So what does it say? How did Mahabharat war start? Who played dice? Do you know? So this is a very important lesson. So kindly don't indulge in these kind of things. When only my great-grandfather and great-grandmother played, they would just play it for a fun purpose. They never played it like this. But when one full gang, the group, both the side, there was a many number of people, it became into a real, it was a very serious game it became. And that game led to a huge, massive fight. So we got to be very careful. How do we indulge? So what is he saying? Waste your time. Some time, the little time you get, we waste like this. That is what King Janaka is saying. You need to understand, this is a very, very, very profound truth. Eknath Maharaj is amazing. He's giving the truth about human existence. Nobody can teach like this. He's very powerful. And this is Uddhav Gita. Lord Krishna Bhagwan is giving Uddhava this teaching. The last message of Sri Krishna Bhagwan. And they play all types of mischief. They constantly chatter about the subjects relating to some sensual pleasures. And if somebody suggests them to repeat the sacred name of Ram, they suddenly keep strange silence. This is very, very powerful. People, when you talk to them, they talk all other subjects, gossip here, there, everything nonsensical. But then when you talk, tell them, take the name of Ram, take the name of Krishna. What happens? They're silent. That they don't want. You know why? That's a very difficult thing in life. They don't want all that. But anything nonsensical, people will sit and gossip. They love to talk. Waste your time. Value your time. Time is what? Time is the very essence of Sri Krishna Bhagwan. Don't waste this time because this opportunity will never come back in your life. So be very careful what you do with your life. One may turn away the divine cow if it comes to one's door. That is the way in which they waste the great opportunity of having birth as human being. Who's the divine cow? Kamadhenu. And who's Kamadhenu? Krishna Bhagwan only. Where does he live? Golok. And he's the cowherd, we say, no? Why is it? Kamadhenu. There's a very beautiful meaning for that, which I will talk later because we are not even moved with, because it's very powerful, intense it gets. So also Kamadhenu is also wish fulfilling. Kamadhenu, you can also say that grace comes. God's grace comes. A guru comes. People can, kick them out. Possible. That's what he's saying. One may turn away the divine cow if it comes at one's door. That is the way in which they waste the great opportunity of having birth as human being. Then one may be proud of this human body, but it is ephemeral, and it is still rare to meet such devotees who are fully united to God. It is very, very rare to meet such devotees who are fully united to God. Can you tell in your life around your people that you know who is united with God? Do you know anyone? Hardly you will know. That is the truth. Then, it is only when millions of good deeds are accomplished that one meets directly such persons who are in deep love of God, and God also loves them. What is it saying? It is only when millions of good deeds that you must have done in your previous birth that and are accomplished, you must have accomplished that one meets directly such persons. Have you all met? Very few must have met, no? Directly such persons you must have met. And who are in deep love of God. And God also loves them. Who's that? The sages, the saints, and the Guru himself. It is because of his liking for their love that the God leaves aside his abstract nature beyond modifications and becomes embodied God. And thus that God of lotus navel has the great glory of 10 best incarnations. This is beautiful. What is he saying? God himself embodies means what? He manifests. He takes an avatar and comes on this planet Earth so that he can redeem you all, so that you can love him. It's very beautifully said. It is because of his liking for their love. For whose love? The devotee's love for God. Leaves aside his abstract nature. Means what? He is a supreme divine consciousness. He leaves that abstract nature which is beyond modifications and becomes embodied. He dons a body. He manifests in a body. That is embodied God, becomes embodied God, and thus that God of lotus navel has the great glory of 10 best incarnations, Dashavataram. Then it is by great good fortune that such great devotees on whom the grace of Sri Krishna is always active and who are loved by God meet us. This is very, very beautiful. What is he saying? He's saying it is by great good fortune that such great devotees on whom the grace of Sri Krishna is always active and who are loved by God meet us. So the Guru and God are one alone. Please understand. They are not separate. Who is it? Lord Sri Krishna Bhagavan himself. And the Guru is in love with the divine Lord. He loves himself. And God is always with them. It is only through Guru can you meet God. Without Guru, no God realization, no bhakti, nothing will come. Shri Krishna Bhagavan will give in this scripture, very important. How do you meet this great Guru? Who is a great Guru? He describes that very beautifully. You need to understand what you have in your life because people don't seem to value that. Then, if a man is really desireless, if his attention is totally riveted in his own self, and if crores of our merits support him continuously, then he can meet those who are dear to Lord Hari. Again, how do you meet this Guru is what is being said here. What is he saying? If a man is really desireless, I don't say, it's very difficult to become desireless. If his attention is totally riveted in his own self, and if, this I will agree, and if crores, okay, this is what it is. If crores of our merits support him continuously. So merits from all your past lives has to come about. That crores of merits support him continuously. Then he can meet those who are dear to the Lord Sri Hari. Then only can you meet. And please understand, you don't meet him. The Guru finds you. You don't find him at all. This is a very important thing to understand, because everybody thinks, oh, I went to the Guru, I went in spirituality. No, I can go. It is Guru who brings you there. It is his grace. It may be possible to have the milk of a tigress or a lioness. It may be possible to get the nectar in the moon in our hands, but devotees who are dear to God are difficult to meet. It requires extremely rare fortune. This is exactly what I've been screaming about. What is he saying? He's saying all the impossible things also you can achieve. But meeting a guru is a very rare thing. It is not at all possible. And for those who have the guru, they don't seem to be realizing the value of it. You don't know how precious to have this guru in your life. It is a rare fortune, and we must always revere it. We should not leave even a moment's chance to stop evolving. Meaning 24/7, you should only be thinking about him, not anything else. You should make it your life goal, because you know what? This one life, it's a privilege that you have for having a guru in your life. By drinking the milk of tigress or a lioness, a man may become very strong, but it will not make him free of birth and death. It is said that a man who can get the nectar in the moon becomes healthy and is not affected by any disease, but moon herself is consumptive. So how can her nectar make anyone else free of disease? Very valid question. If at all by the milk of tigress or lioness, people would be deathless, how the beasts themselves from whom the milk is derived meet death? Correct. So, but when we meet the devotees of Hari, the calamities of this life do not touch us, and the chain of birth and death totally disappears. How beautiful. Means what? When you have this great being in your life, the guru, it's a rarest of the gem. No money is equivalent to having, no wealth in your bank, nothing. The possession, everything that you think you have is worthless when you have this priceless being with you. Everybody will want to cut their right hand to be with this master. You don't know the value of what you have. It's a rarest of the gem that you have got. You can call him a Parasmani, a Chintamani, or whatever, a Kamadenu, because they are all the rarest of the things. It is not so easy for one to get a guru in their life. That is what he's explaining. Means what? When we meet the devotees of Hari, the calamities of this life do not touch us. You know what? He's the only one who will protect you from the Maya, the calamities of the life. He is ever there to save you. But do you follow him in the way he wants you to follow? See, it doesn't come easily. The effort is a must. Without effort, nothing can be achieved in our life. Self-effort, Krishna Bhagavan teaches constantly. What does he tell Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita? Self-effort is a must. One's own, self is one's own best friend, and one's own self is one's own worst enemy also. So what do you want to be? You have to become your best friend. Rise above. Use your effort to grow. Knowledge has been given. Everything is there. Grace is there. You have to do. What did Krishna Bhagavan say? Doing is a must. And today what people don't do, they don't do only. That is the problem. And so what he says, and the chain of birth and death totally disappears. So the calamities do not touch you in life. And the chain means what? The cycle of birth and death totally disappears. Today, all that good luck is on my side. And that is why you have met me. So I'm asking you to please tell me what is the highest welfare. How beautiful. So what is Janaka telling these great sages? He's saying, today all that good luck is on my side. That is why I have met you. So I'm asking you to please tell me what is the highest welfare so that I can evolve. How beautiful is that? Do you ever feel like this for your Gurudev? Do you think this is how you have to praise your Guru? Does anybody even do? We don't even value it. He's Janak himself, Janak Maharaj is saying this. How beautiful. It is so pleasing to the, ears. So we'll do one last verse and we will stop. So chapter 2, verse 30. Oh, the guileless sages, we ask you, what is the extreme welfare of man? In this world, even half a moment of company of saints is the highest achievement for people. My God. If we can call you sinless and flawless, it is wrong because you are so clean and pure already. That by looking at you, all the stigmas of Kali are destroyed. So what is he saying? Even just looking at you for half a minute, In this world, even half a moment of company of saints is the highest achievement of the people. Even if you get half a minute, but here you get many hours. But what is the use? Because you don't seem to understand the priceless thing that you have in your life. You put it in the dustbin. It is said that the river Ganga purifies all if we take bath in her water. This is very important. But that Ganga herself seeks the touch of your feet in order to wash away the accumulated sins which pollute her. How beautiful. It is not the Ganga which purifies the sins of people who go and take dip in it. It is only when the divine master, the Guru's holy feet dips in Ganga does she get purified, all the accumulated sins. She is ever waiting for the holy master, the sages and the saints to dip his feet in her. You know how powerful that is? You have no idea about it. This is very, very beautiful. We think we are going in, destroying all our sins by taking dip. Nothing is going to happen. Please understand. You go there, you leave everything, you dirty it. You think some sin of yours is going to go away? Nothing will go. So this is the greatness of that feet. Do you know? The privilege to even touch that feet. How great it is. The benefit of your company and your glimpse is the river Ganga of spirit. And it is very powerful because by looking at it, the mundane life comes to an end. Then where is the place for birth and death? Just by looking at you, everything is destroyed. Now, where is the question of birth and death? Doesn't even exist. Ganga is now nowhere in comparison to your glimpse. The greatness of sacred places has no prestige compared to it. Please remember, the Mahakumbh is in your Gurudev. All the rivers are at his holy feet. Just his touch of his feet, or entire knowledge base, the entire universe is at his feet. Within him, he's a Brahmanda. And you are standing in front of that being. You don't know how great a privilege it is. You know what? Every divine god, the deities will kill, they want to cut their hands to be in your place. You don't know the privilege that you have. So please rever and value this. Do not discount your life. And do not discount what you have, and do not throw it away because of your ego, arrogance, and all the 6 enemies of humankind that you think, I know, I am this, I am that. Kindly follow your Guru's order and go evolve. This one life is privilege. Don't lose this. So, the greatness of the sacred places has no prestige compared to it. Those sacred places cannot nullify the mundane life, but your benign vision does destroy all bondage. Just his grace, just his looking, his benevolence glance on you destroys a lot of sins and karma. Do you know that? Just my Gurudev's glance on us, just the moment he sees with his benevolence love, finish all your diseases and everything, the karma and sins are destroyed like this. But that is the level of devotion you need to carry. You can't have doubt. See, most important, he's the supreme divine consciousness. There is a very important thing that you need to understand. It is with what bhav that you look at him is what he will reflect. He's the self. He's just a reflection. So you are reflecting him. It is what you give is what you get 1,000 times back. So be very careful with how you look at him. But his benevolence glance on you, just this look, everything gets destroyed. But your benign vision destroys all bondage. By your kind glance, you enhance all the sacredness. I am myself now very pure because you have met me and you are so compassionate. How does our worth go about? It is only when the Guru's grace, the glance falls on us. Just his look on us will destroy our bondage. Just his look on us, enhance the sacredness within us. We become sacred, we become divine, we become pure. And that's what Janak is saying. Just because you have looked at us, I have become so pure now. I am very pure. How beautiful is this feeling? And that is the truth. By great good luck, I have the company of such pure sages who are virtually kindness personified. Even Vedas become silent in trying to describe the greatness of the company of the saints. What does it mean? The word satsang means keeping the company of the holy. So what should you keep always? Not some material worldly people. You have to keep the company of the sages and the saints if you want to grow in this world. It is not about having some, oh, I know, X, Y, Z. X, Y, Z. You don't need to know any of these people. They are not going to give you this, whatever he's giving. They are just there. All these people are not worthy in your life. Anybody for that matter, have this company of the holy people. That is what will make you, great in your life. So what is Janak Maharaj saying? He's saying even Vedas cannot describe them, the greatness of this company of the saints. Even Vedas will become silent. Someone today asked my Guruji, what is Vedas? Where is it being defined? You know what does Veda means? Vedas are angas of the divine Lord. They are emanated from the body of Krishna Bhagavan. It's called Vedanga. It is the portion of the divine Lord. So only God can describe who God is, no human being. Vedas cannot be taught by any ordinary human being. Only the divine Lord has to embody himself to come and teach you everything in this universe. But how can you attain Krishna Bhagavan? There's only two words: love and devotion. Everything else, please chuck it. He doesn't tell you have to do all these gymnastics. Actually, he'll teach you all of this. The only way of attaining Krishna Bhagavan is absolutely pure love, unconditional love and exclusive devotion. That is all the path. It is only through bhakti you can attain him. Knowledge, everything will come automatically. But what you need to develop is called the love and devotion, without which you can't even touch his feet also. So, Brahman is having no qualification. It has no knowledge of its own qualities. By the speech uttered by the mouth of saints, the Brahman is confirmed as Brahman. The good company of God-men like you has great significance without any parallel. If we say that the company of the saints is similar to depositing money, we find the money deposited can be lost. But the company of the saints makes the seekers realize Atman. How beautiful. Don't compare to him depositing money in your bank. You can't compare him with anything material. Please understand. He's beyond. You are living in his mercy. It is he who bestows things upon you. Don't think, you are giving. The word giving is a very wrong thing. You are nobody to give. What is the word you have to use? We offer. We make an offering to him. It is only when he wishes to accept from you can you offer, not even otherwise. So don't think you're doing a great favor, because people have these wrong assumptions when it's concerning money. Money is an evil thing in the hands of wrong people. But money is what? A facilitator in the hands of those who are God's men. Means what? Wealth is to establish dharma. And that is why he's here. And charity is the thing which you are going to learn in detail in this scripture. If we get hidden treasure, it encourages us to indulge in more sensual pleasures. But sirs, good company is not like that. It gives happiness beyond all objects. No objects can give you that happiness which the company of this holy Guru gives you, the sages and the saints. The devotee of the Lord can give you that happiness which is eternal. It's called bliss. It is called Sachidanand. It is Anand that you will experience. It is nothing equivalent to all these material worldly pleasures which you get from the sense objects. The saints give such an advice that the disciple can get joy beyond sense organs and the ecstasy beyond the objects. Thus vast is the greatness of the sages. Even if we get the company of a real saint for half a moment, it breaks the attachment to worldly life. Even for a half a moment, if you get this company, it breaks the attachment to the worldly life. What happens to you all? We're all sitting for hours together. And yet more attachment to the worldly life. Really. Thus, only the fortunate seekers know the significance of the company of such pure Mahatmas. What are they? Mahatmas. They are the great beings on this planet Earth. It's only with rare opportunity do we get to meet them and have this company. Don't lose it. It is very easy to fall off the path, but it's very difficult to carry forward in the journey. The saints are pleased with people by the very faith and trust they have in those saints. Sirs, the worldly life becomes null and void in the vicinity of saints. So what is the first important word? Absolute faith. It is not 99.99% faith. It's very beautiful. When you come in the contact of the Gurudev, he will test your faith. Oh, what is your faith? He's going to See how much faith you have. When everything is going in fine in your material world, then you will say very happy, oh, I know my Gurudev, my thing, all that. One Maya will be put into your life to see what you choose, God or your material world. There itself you're finished. And that shows how much faith you will have. Faith is not a small thing. He wants to see what is the number one priority you have in your life. Whether you want your God or you want your material world. That is the test of faith will always come. This worldly life brings in many acute hardships because of various diseases, the possessions of many objects and interest. But the company of saints is the only effective medicine to do away with that worldly life. It is only when you keep the company of the saints you can destroy all these things that comes in your life. What are there? Diseases, various hardships, acute hardships. In your life, every man's life, you have to go through this acute hardships. Because of what? Diseases, possessions of many objects, and interests. And then what? It's going to eat you up. Day after day, you're going to keep battling. You fight one hardship, then the next is round the corner. It is waiting at your door. And you have gone through this, yet you don't understand the value of what you have. And you're afraid of Maya. See, the word for spirituality, what is the first word? It's called absolute fearlessness. When you're seeking God, there is nothing in the world for you to be afraid of. And it's a choice that you have to make. What is your welfare in? That is one thing you need to, understand and go accordingly. Then, but the company of saints is the only effective medicines to do away with that worldly life. When camphor gets the company of a flame, the result is that camphor loses itself totally. Similarly, when one gets the good company of saints within a fraction of a second, the worldly life with the chain of birth and death and the concept that I am the body all becomes extinct. So what is the Guru teaching you? First knowledge. I am not this body. That is the first thing he's trying to instill in you. But are you even learning? The Guru is going on saying the same thing. 24 years, my Krishna Guruji has been, tirelessly teaching the same thing over and over and over and over again to everybody who comes. I sometimes feel amazed at his strength and patience that he has. Sometimes I said, how do you do this? So I feel sad at the state. Here is the Lord Almighty. And to this all, duffers who come and yet you are imparting the knowledge without any discrimination. Only Sri Krishna Bhagwan can do this. The greatness of it. Value him. Don't take him for granted in your life. And don't behave whichever way you want with him. It is not allowed. Then, if I have today got such good company of yours by my good luck, so please tell me what is the extreme welfare and how that eternal welfare can be attained by all beings. How beautiful. He is now seeking the grace of these gurus, the sages, and King Janaka is asking them, today if I have this good fortune, what is he saying? I have today got such good company of yours by my good luck. Because of your good merit, you have found this Guru in your life. The company of this Guru is there in your life. So please tell me, what is the extreme welfare and how that eternal welfare can be attained by all beings? It is not only for me, right? I also want to attain, but how everybody else can attain as well. Whoever is listening to the satsang, whoever is listening to the words of the Guru, even that little bit goes in them and that fire triggers off. Yes, they are on the path of God realization. How fortunate is that? So the Guru is very kind. He's not just doing it for one being. He's being compassionate for everybody. But those who have to get the knowledge and those who have to evolve will definitely evolve. But you need to put effort. God helps those who help themselves. Without effort, you can't even move an inch also. Forget in the spiritual world. Material world also, you can't go anywhere. Self-effort is the most important thing. Then, if you wish to say that the Bhagavata, what is Bhagavata? Way of life, is the key of that desired permanent welfare. Please be kind enough to tell me about that way of life in an easy manner. What is Janaka asking the sages? He's saying, if you wish to say that the Bhagavata is the way of life, is the key of that desired permanent welfare. What is the permanent welfare? What is this way of life? Please tell me, be kind enough. He's asking in a very nice manner, in a submissive manner, being subservient to the lotus feet of the sages and saints and honoring them. He's asking in a very nice manner, please be kind enough to tell me about that way of life in a very easy manner, in a way that I can simply understand. Make it very simple for me so that I can achieve my welfare. So with that, we have come to an end. So hope you know the welfare. So please join the satsang to understand what is this welfare and what is the way of life. So with that, we stop here today. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you for joining Sri Ekanathi Bhagavad Satsang. Have a good day and good evening to you all. God bless.
Recording stopped.